大家好, welcome to GoEast mini seminar. Today we're going to talk something very interesting. It's about the relationship between knowing words and actually can speak Chinese. So my title is Why You Still Can't Make a Correct Sentence Despite Knowing 5,000 Words. Oh, by the way, I'm recording at my home office this time because the coronavirus in China. So every GoEast teacher actually is working at home, but we're still very productive and we want you to keep learning as well. Okay, let me first introduce myself. So you probably know my name is Emily Wang, and I'm one of the 3 co-founders of GoEast. Yes, that's me in the middle of the picture. So I've been teaching Chinese to foreigners for now about 12 years, and I really love teaching. I think the best thing about teaching is actually you have a lot of interactions with your students, and it makes you think more about how to learn a foreign language better. So over those years, actually there's a common question has been raised to me all the time. And it could be in this way, like I learn really hard. I use flashcards, dictionaries. Every day I recite 20 words, 30 words, 40 words. I even came to China. My vocabulary is 1,000, 2,000. Someone's even 5,000 by now. But why do I still talk like a baby? Why can't I understand people on the street? This is frustrating, eh? You worked so hard. And I can totally understand, as a diligent language learner, you will definitely do this. And you feel if I know every word, right, we should have no barriers in understanding or expressing it as a foreign language. Unfortunately, I'm going to tell you, this is merely a pretense. Although you work hard, but you probably work hard in the wrong direction. And I'm going to explain to you why. And also, more importantly, I'm going to point out the right directions you can work with. Okay, ready? Let's go. So the first thing I want to clarify with you is knowing every word doesn't mean you can understand the meaning of the sentence or the paragraph of the conversations you're having. You don't believe me? Okay, let me give you some examples. So let's see, if you're a beginner, you probably have already learned those words by heart, hey? Like the word for 朋友, which means a friend. 小, which means small. 人, person. And then 大, which means big. But for Chinese, it's very easy. We combine those words together and it will create new meanings. So, 小朋友, it doesn't mean small friend. It actually means a child. 小人, it doesn't mean a small or a younger or shorter person. It actually means a feeling. And then 大人, it doesn't mean someone who's fat or big or strong. It means someone who's an adult. So even if you know those words all by heart, it doesn't bring you the right meanings. Yeah? And now let's look at the example for intermediate level. So you probably understand each word in the sentence. 什么呀? What? Question word. 你说的话我一个字也不要相信. Okay, maybe the most difficult word is 相信, which means to trust, an HSK3 level word. But what does this mean? It means what? You say the words, I want one word, I don't want to trust. What does that mean? So actually the real meaning, this is a very native way of trying to say you don't trust anyone. You don't trust this person at all in a more expressing way. So it means, what are you talking about? I won't believe you at all. Not even a single word. So you see my point here, right? So even if you know so many words, it won't present the meaning to you naturally. So how to cope with less-than? Okay, listen carefully. It's something important for you. So I do have tips for you. Instead of memorizing new words, keep working on new words. How about try to have a deeper understanding of the words you already know until you actually master the usages. And how can you achieve this? So the first and the foremost to keep in mind is you need to do some meaningful reading with the words you already know. You choose those materials with less new words, the better. So for total beginners, because you have limited words, right? So how can you deal with that? So you probably finished reading or learning from one beginner textbooks. So what you can try is to find some other beginner textbooks published by another publisher. So apparently they will use the same words for sure, but different conversations, different chapters. And then for intermediate level, I will suggest you to use graded readings. Although a lot of textbooks published which are graded readings, which will be good. And now even a lot of apps are like that too. And if you're advanced learners, you're lucky because you can use true authentic materials like interviews in Chinese or Chinese TVs, dramas, and films. Those would be the great things for you to actually to read and then know the real meaning of it. So if you really have very limited vocabulary and you want to expand it, that's okay too. But instead of memorizing the words itself, I will suggest you to recite sentences you can find instead. So remember, it's very important. Instead of just memorize those single words, recite sentences instead. Okay? And the second, why this is not the best way to learn is because a good reader is not necessarily mean you will become a good listener, not alone to be a good speaker. What you really need as a good to really speak this language is actually you need to have a really good learning environment. What does that mean? So there's two factors which is essential. The first one is about the output, which means you need to speak in Chinese all the time if it's possible. And the second, which is neglected by most people, it's like you need to have direct and good feedback each time after you speak. What does this mean? It doesn't mean like people judge your language, but it means like the language needs to be functional. So a good example would be if you try to use Chinese to do something and then it actually achieved. For example, you use Chinese to buy a coffee, you get the coffee exactly you want. Then you know what you express is good, right? Or if you speak to someone speak to you back, and there's no misunderstanding during the conversation, which means you express yourself clearly. Or if you say something and someone say the thing back to you but in a different order or rephrase it, then you know what you just said. It's functional, but it's not in the right order. So you probably want to repeat that. So that's what it means by direct and good feedback. But I really understand it's very difficult for a learner to find this kind of effective learning environment, even if you're learning or working in China, right? Because probably your Chinese friends and the colleagues, they like to talk English to you instead of Chinese. And even if you have a Chinese friend who can speak English and is willing to talk to you in Chinese, because they don't know English, so they will not understand why you made these mistakes because of your native language. And it's really very hard for them to understand you. So sometimes a lot of learners told me, like my students telling me, why you can understand my sentences, but each time when I speak the same sentence to people on the street, they were just like, huh? Like sometimes even it's just very small mistake, why they couldn't get me. That is because I know why you made this mistake, so I can naturally switch it to the right one in my mind. And of course I get you. But for those ones who cannot speak English, it's something beyond their imagination. They don't know they can switch the phrases or the order and then try to create your original meaning, right? And the third one probably it's even the most difficult. It's because, like we said, you need direct and good feedback right after you speak, right? So they can't really help you to see what are wrong there, and not necessarily or let alone they will guide you through the right grammar structures or the right sentences. And then actually it requires at least 3 times before it can stick to your mind. How could they know that? And how could they act that naturally, right? So my suggestions to you, first, if like you are able to, like really, I would really recommend this to you, get a real good teacher. A professional teacher does matter. And I'll give you 3 tips how to judge if a teacher is professional and good. The first is the teacher needs to be fluent in English or your mother language, so he or she understands why you're making those kind of mistakes more easily. But most importantly is also he or she can stick to speaking with you in the level you know. So they're not using you to practicing English, right? They actually help you to practice your Chinese. And second, they will be able to create situations for you to speak, not to recite. Mechanically recite doesn't help you the right grammars or the right structures or the right sentences to stick to your mind. It needs to be a natural, real situation, conversations, and it needs to flow as well. And last, a good teacher knows to learn to really speak a foreign language doesn't not only just include you can talk in the right words or right grammars, but also you need to talk in the right intonation, the right manner, the right speak, the right emphasis, etc. Does that make sense? Okay, but what can you do by yourself then? Yes, there's something you can do by yourself as well. So, which is called role play. That something sounds very simple, but a lot of people actually don't take the advantage of that. So let me suggest this to you. How can you make role play really workable for yourself? So first, if you're an advanced learner, still you're very lucky. Try to find interviews. Yes, interviews in Chinese. Interviews are probably the most authentic, the closest materials you can find for real situations. So pretend you're the interviewer or the interviewee. So let the interviewer speak, and then you try to respond to answer the questions, pretending you're being interviewed. And then compare what you just said with the real answers from the real interviewee and see what you can improve. Okay? So if you're not an advanced learner, you can't really use those kind of things. It will be too difficult for you. But luckily, you can use some learning materials like the GoEast Beyond the Class. Like I'm really proud of our Beyond the Class series. It's all free or open on YouTube. You can just find it there. Those are the materials we created based on the real stories in our life or at GoEast. So you can see a lot of GoEast gossips. And then you can, like everything is speaking in a natural way. So it's not a recorded textbook. Okay, let me show you and how you can use that. So this is one of the episode.
哎，你觉得我这个朋友怎么样？这是昨天晚上我们吃饭的时候拍的照片，我觉得他挺适合你的。
So this one, I want you to pretend you're Michael, right? So Ellie says something to you. So as a Michael, what would you reply? And after you reply, compare what you just said with Michael. Okay, remember not just the words, the sentence, but also look at Michael's like expression, his tone, his speed, his stress in the sentence. Okay, so you can try to find this video on our YouTube channel and see what Michael replied. Okay, let's review. So first, instead of memorizing words, the key for expanding your vocabulary or to help you actually learn or speak this language is to get better at full sentences instead of just single words. And how can you achieve that? First, by reading new materials with words you already know. For beginners, other textbooks. For intermediate, graded reading or apps. For advanced people, real interviews in Chinese or Chinese TVs. And second, don't memorize words, recite sentences. So even if you're very happy or you really want to recite with dictionaries, not just recite the words or its meanings, recite the full examples in the dictionaries. Okay? And then the third is get a professional teacher, not just a friend. This would be very efficient. And the fourth one, on your own, you can use role play to learn. So pretend you're one of the interviewer or you're one of the characters in our Beyond the Class and try to come up with your own answers and compare your answers with the real answers from the video and see how you can improve. Okay? So I hope this is something very helpful for you. And I would love to hear if you have any comments. And of course, you're very welcome to learn with us at GoEast, right? So if you really like the video or if you want to see more resources from GoEast, try to visit goeastmandarin.com. And in the end, instead of saying bye-bye to you, I want to say something new for you. It also means bye-bye, but not 再见. What I want, and it includes something very simple, which is 不见不散.